Hello dear ones, my name is Mel and I'm going to discuss with you, look into the energies of June 2022. And this month I actually sense that we, and by that I mean all of us who are willing to do so, we are being invited to look at our own shadows, at our own traumas, our own pain, maybe dysfunctions, biases, because what is happening globally is not happening outside of us. Or let's say it's not only happening outside of us. Right now, there are certain topics that are of global interest or being portrayed as being of global interest for everyone or the majority. And when we look at what has been happening now for centuries, but let's say during the past 2 years, and what is happening in this right now moment, we have to acknowledge that a lot of the stuff that we see, and many of us agree on that, is incredibly unbelievable. And a lot of the stuff reflects a lot of the issues, a lot of the conversations, the topics, what is going on, reflects a dynamic and an energy that does not feel supportive or helpful to freedom, to respect, to wholeness, to unity, to health. It feels like it's the opposite. A lot of these energies and them being played out, they feel like this is crazy, this is insane, this feels oppressive, this feels negative, this feels fearful, it feels anxiety filled, and this is what is very much dominant in the energies that we live in. And no matter where you are on the consciousness scale, most of you can agree on that one. And we are now in the month of June actually being invited to look at the aspects that we see outside in society, in the governments, in the elite, in the structures, in the institutions, to look at how come they're there so predominantly, and what their intentions are, and where they are leading us, and where we resonate with them, which means what we see out there is a reflection of what's inside of us, and predominantly. And so we need to acknowledge, if we are brave enough, we get to acknowledge, starting maybe now, and maybe you have started already, what is your trauma? What are your traumas? What is within you that is not healed, that is not whole, that is split, that is divided, that is ill, like maybe not congruent, unhealthy, that is contradictory within yourself, that is not compassionate, that is not aligned, that is not connected. Because all these attributes we see predominantly outside. Whether it is the war situation, the health situation, the lots of things, regulations, rules, laws, different societies with their different structures, their different problems, everything, we know this is coming to the surface step by step by step during the next few months and years, which it has to. But if we still separate what's going on from outside, or in the outside, from ourselves inside, we pretend it has nothing got to do with us, They just need to change, and I just need to watch the change. But this is not how it happens, because what is going on is a reflection of what is happening within the majority of human beings. And the majority of human beings are not healthy, emotionally, psychologically. They're not healthy. They're imbalanced, out of balance. And this is what we see in the whole world. It's out of balance. The reactions, the behaviors, the intentions. Oh my goodness, there's no balance. There's no stream of well-being noticeable. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. And as long as human beings are not willing to face their own stuff, this will continue, because this is just a reflection of us. So if we see that outside domination or the structure of elite, non-elite, or the empowered and the disempowered, if we see that more and more and more, and we don't like it, and we feel the effects of that, we feel the effects of somebody plans something and it has an effect on my life. What they're planning, what they want, has an effect on what I can buy for my money and what I can't, because all of a sudden the value of the money changes, and all of a sudden, there is not that food supply. And yes, there are these elements of, I would like to believe what I'm being told, and I would like to believe in the goodness of the people who are telling me that. But this is also something that, if trauma within ourselves is not healed, we still have this, like that's the dynamic of trauma. There is still the potential, or the underlying issue, that we feel disempowered. We feel like if we live with trauma, we may feel like the victim, and we may still feel like we need to associate or somehow ally with those who are traumatizing us, or who have traumatized us, because they are also the ones in charge. They're the ones in power. They're the ones with control. So there is still this element of dependency and non-freedom from those perpetrators, if you want. And as I'm speaking, I notice that there is a lot of detail opening up with that subject. And I actually feel that this is possibly the topic for a different video, to go into the detail of that topic. But for now, for June, what I want to focus on is that we get to look at our traumas, because we're experiencing collective trauma. The collective has been traumatized and is living with the non-healed traumas of the past, and of the recent past, of the past couple of years. Like, there is a collective traumatization that has occurred. Like, if you look around, wherever you are, and you can write this, but there are still people here, like in Europe. I live in Germany right now, so there are still people going into a regular shop with their FFP2 mask. There has been traumatization, there has been programming, and it's still going on. It's hard for some of you to hear. I understand that, because what we don't believe, we can't believe. Only if we're open to every possibility can we actually accept new options, new realities. If we're still stuck within our own trauma, which will not allow us to see what is really happening, because we interpret what's happening through our own trauma, adding to the collective trauma. What we see is the reflection of a traumatized humanity, of a dysfunctional humanity, of a very much disempowered humanity. And it is okay, because by us even talking about this, seeing it, acknowledging it, and maybe having to experience it in order for it to be able to be released and to be healed, we get to create a different type of humanity. But it cannot happen if we're not ready and willing to face it within ourselves, to face our own stuff, to face our own past, to face our own betrayals, our own, whether it was done to us or whether we have done it to someone else, to face our own shadows, to face our own pain. If we're not ready and willing to do that, honestly, how do we expect others to do it and reflect on themselves and then create a better society for all of us? We can't. We can't. We have to start always with ourselves. And this goes for everyday Joe soap. It's like everyone who thinks that I'm just living a normal life, what I have experienced is what the majority of people have experienced. And yes, it wasn't always pleasant and all that, but I got through it. I'm okay, and I don't need therapy, or I have done therapy, so I'm okay now. And it hasn't been that bad, and I'm healthy now, and I'm whole now. Well, maybe not. Because if that was the case for the majority of us, we would have none of the issues that we're having right now. None of them. We would have energy, free energy available to all of us. We would not have to spend a cent. But it is there. It's just not made available to us because of the dysfunctional structures that are in place. And they're the result not of healthy human beings, they're the result of dysfunctional human beings. And again, I'm not saying that as a label or a judgment or I'm just using that word because it indicates that something is not aligned, is not in the flow. There is a distortion, there is a twist in it, and the whole thing becomes twisted. The whole direction becomes twisted, insane, unhealthy. Like, I don't want to use the word sick, but it's twisted in that sense. It's not healthy, it's not whole, it's not benevolent, it's not full of life force. It's the energy. It's the energy. It's tight, it's twisted, it's dysfunctional. And so this is why I use this word to describe it. So if everyday Joe Soap would be willing to look inside and to face what's there and to begin the process of acknowledging it, of maybe analyzing it, understanding it, how do you expect for the world to be understood if you cannot understand yourself? And this is not just a rational understanding. This is like a full-on understanding of yourself, of all the patterns that you have, of all the programming that you have, of all that you are and your consciousness, like this true understanding of yourself. And if we start doing that one by one by one, we are creating a different type of approach to ourselves. And with that understanding, we carry that out. And let's say all of us did that. Let's say all of us did healing work, whatever that would mean for you, and went inside and started to heal the aspects that are not healed, and to integrate the aspects that are being split off and that are not being integrated, and to acknowledge what's there, and to actually decide and choose, what do I want to be there, what do I not want to be there. And if there are certain things about you that you don't like, or you don't appreciate, or that you don't accept, that you don't even acknowledge, as long as that's the case, there are always these hidden aspects that we see in society, in the collective, hidden dark aspects that are continuing. They don't stop because you don't want to see them. just the way they're still within you, even if you try to ignore them. They only dissolve by us looking at them, acknowledging them, integrating them, and releasing them. Because they're no longer necessary. Because we have made a choice of who we want to be, how we want to be, what we want to live. And if more and more people start doing that, and this is the invitation, society would change. Leaders would change. If you look at the leaders in any country, and maybe the people in charge above them, look at who they are in terms of what's within them. You can see in the behaviors, you can see in their actions, you can see in the words they choose, whether they are complete, whole, conscious, awake, benevolent, gracious, compassionate. You can see this. And that there's no judgment needed. And what we have to acknowledge, because otherwise the world wouldn't be the way it is right now, it's no, most of them are exactly the opposite. The most unhealthy, dysfunctional, traumatized, unconscious people are in the leading positions with their bias towards I want power, I want to manipulate, and not all of them. But looking at the world and where it's at and where it's heading, most of them. And again, no judgment. It's just a reflection. If all of them were peaceful inside, were okay with themselves, were not living their programs, were not living their patterns, their conditionings, their false impressions or perspectives of themselves, if they were not living by believing in this illusion that they create day by day by day, they would do other stuff. They would use other words. They would make different choices. And we, who are not in that position, and I clearly see this division, and it's going to get stronger and stronger, not between nations, not between countries, but between the leading level and the non-leading level, like the masses. There is this polarized energy. There is this thing and this mass energy, and I see this drifting more and more apart, or if you want, going more and more against each other. And we would not have that if we felt they are a reflection of us. We are gracious, we are understanding, we are compassionate, we are looking out for each other. This is who we are loving, and so are they. So we actually work together for the greater good of all of us. But this is not what it feels like. Instead of trying to accuse and blame and point the finger to the outside, to everything that you can name that is not going right and that you see as being deceptive, and where you know the truth is a different story. Look inside first. It's like, how can I contribute to an honest, compassionate, loving society with the way I am? And this seems like, yeah, but what's the point if I do this, if the other millions and millions of people don't? Well, if everybody thinks that way, nothing is going to change. It always starts with us. And you've heard this before, rationally, you know, but we need to do the work. We need to do it. We need to heal. We need to face our traumas, because otherwise the collective trauma will not be able to be healed. I hope that this makes sense. So it is okay to take you as yourself, completely, wholly, not having to feel guilty about anything within your structure, within your personality, but looking at it. And then looking at everything that you have maybe pushed to the side, that you don't want to see, that you don't want to face, all the negative emotions, guilt, shame, anger, anything, situations from the past where people have wronged you, where you have wronged people, that you take it and that you say, for the greater good of all. If it's not just for you, because that will actually change your life completely if you manage to do that. But if you can't do that just for you, for the greater good of all of us, it's okay to heal that. It's okay to integrate that. It's okay to hold that, to accept that, to forgive that. In whatever way you feels good for you to do it. Like you can go to therapists, you can get help from the outside and guidance from the outside on how to do this, or you just do the inner work, or you do it while going out into nature, healing your own wounds with the intention of becoming whole, becoming connected again. Because what is going on in the world is showing the illusionary idea of separation. Otherwise, we couldn't do the things to each other that we're doing. We would not have the intentions that we're having. Well, not us, but some, right? In terms of the negative intentions. That wouldn't be possible. It's just because we have the illusion of we're separate. And then we can be mean to someone else because we think they're not us. And because we think they deserve it. And because we separate ourselves from that. And this is the illusion we will have to overcome moving into 4D, 5D. And we are going to. We are going to overcome that. But it starts with this phase now of difficulties because we have to face it. It's not like, okay, put the blanket of understanding and healing over it and then it's sorted. No. It's not about the cover-up and pretending it's not there. It's about the looking at it. We need to look at it. We need to look at it. And that is okay. We can survive looking at it. And we can actually enjoy then the healing from it. From all the traumas that we have held on to. Or that have been sitting within us for so long. And that way humanity will heal. Okay? Okay. I'm going to love you and leave you for today, and we'll talk again next time if you want to.